Picture this for a second. It's a night completely consumed by darkness. The sky above you is choked with this thick, suffocating blanket of smoke, and the only sounds cutting through the air are the terrifying, deafening echoes of bombs going off all around you. Well, welcome to today's Explainer. Today, we're diving straight into a really powerful narrative titled The Story of a Soldier. We're going to explore the profound, absolutely devastating impact of conflict. And we're not just talking about the cities it destroys, but the toll it takes on the very hearts of the human beings caught right in the middle of it.
Will I be alive tomorrow? In the midst of utter chaos, with terrified people running in literally every direction and the heartbreaking sound of children crying, this was the singular, desperate thought of a soldier lying face down in the dirt. It's a chilling question, isn't it? And it serves as our entry point today. We're looking at a war that didn't just obliterate a city, but entirely shattered human souls.
Section 1. The rapid escalation to destruction.
So how does something like this even happen? This level of devastation doesn't just appear out of nowhere, right? It actually started with seemingly small political tensions weeks prior, but that hatred just grew and grew day by day. What began as angry threats echoing across the media rapidly turned into the very real physical deployment of tanks at the borders. And then it finally culminated in a moment that shook the entire world, a devastating missile attack at 5 a.m., our 0 hour.
The sheer panic of that morning attack is honestly hard to even comprehend. At precisely 5 a.m., a sudden explosion of missiles just shattered the dawn. Sirens began to wail incessantly. People were jolted from their sleep, forced to abandon absolutely everything and just run for their lives through streets that had descended into pure chaos and were entirely engulfed in fire.
Moving on to Section 2. A young man enters the abyss.
22. Our focus today is on a soldier named Ayan, and he was only 22 years old. I mean, think about that for a second. This was a young guy with massive dreams for his future, completely full of potential, who was abruptly forced onto a chaotic battlefield to face death up close.
And that brings us to the terrifying reality of his very first combat experience. He arrives at the battlefield, and immediately, death is staring him right in the face. A fellow soldier screams to take cover, yelling that they're under attack. In this environment of blinding, rapid gunfire, where no one could even process what was happening, Ayan had to witness the horrific trauma of his own friends dying right before his eyes in the dirt. Section 3. The dual cost of conflict.
You know, war presents this incredibly devastating contrast. On a macro level, you have the complete infrastructural collapse of the civilian world. Schools shattered to pieces, hospitals overflowing with the wounded. But the micro cost, the human cost, it's even heavier. It's a heartbroken mother tightly holding her crying child, and her only plea is for peace. It really hits home that in a war, peace becomes the most expensive, unattainable thing in the world.
Section 4. The impossible task.
The stakes elevate even further here when Ayan and his team are handed a seemingly impossible mission. First, they've got to infiltrate enemy territory under the cover of complete darkness. Then they have to slowly, painstakingly navigate through an area rigged with active landmines, all to reach their final objective, blowing up a strategic bridge. The tension here is just palpable. A single wrong footstep in that dark minefield, that meant instant death for Ayan and his entire team. And, as you might expect, the mission quickly spiraled into a horrific nightmare. The silence was violently broken by an enemy ambush that instantly scattered Ayan's team. It was literally like a horror movie. They were surrounded by thick smoke, deafening explosions, and terrifying screams echoing in the pitch black.
In the ensuing chaos, Ayan is wounded. He pulls a crumpled photograph of his mother from his pocket, tears filling his eyes, and whispers, "Mother, if I cannot return, please forgive me." It's in this incredibly vulnerable, raw moment that Ayan truly realizes a dark truth about all of this. In war, no one actually wins.
Dawn breaks, and both armies are gearing up for their ultimate collision. Massive tanks begin to advance. Fighter jets are circling aggressively in the sky above, and the commander shouts a chilling declaration to his troops. This is our final battle. Despite his wounds, Ayan manages to gather every last ounce of courage he has left and detonates the explosives. Boom! A massive, earth-shattering blast rips through the air. The ground violently shakes beneath them as the target bridge is completely obliterated, just disappearing into a massive cloud of thick smoke. So, on a tactical level, the mission is marked as a success. The objective was destroyed, but it came at the ultimate, devastating personal cost. During that final push, Ion's best friend was martyred, dying right in front of him. It's a profound loss, kinda masked by the cold, bureaucratic terminology of a successful mission.
Which brings us to our final section, Section 5, The Lingering Shadows of Survival.
Fast forward a few years. The physical cities, they were eventually rebuilt, but the psychological wounds of the people, those never truly healed. Ion physically survived the war. He made it back home. But that innocent, hopeful 22-year-old dreamer that we met at the beginning of this explainer, he was gone forever. The war had completely erased the person he used to be.
I want to leave you with a final haunting diary entry written by Ion himself. He wrote, "War doesn't just burn the land, it extinguishes the light inside a human being." It's a provocative and really heartbreaking reflection, isn't it? Cities can be rebuilt and buildings can be reconstructed from the rubble, but when the inner light of a human soul is violently put out, can it ever truly be reignited? Something to think about. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer.